Welcome to the Layman Seminary. I'm resuming my paper writing. I need to turn this caption off right here because I got to turn in my paper soon. So let me hide this caption. Share my screen again. And so I'm going to be reading for flow and content. I got to make some hard choices. I got to get everything. I'm going to try to work on it for 4 hours straight. We'll see what happens. The term biblical covenantalism should not replace dispensationalism. Instead, this paper advocates that biblical codism should replace both. Okay, there's a better way for me to say that. The term biblical codism, I'm just going to make it more direct. The term biblical codism then I could change this to should replace the term dispensationalism. Instead, this paper advocates that biblical codism should replace both. All right. So then I can cut that up. Now I got two footnotes here, 1 and 2. And so this is talking about Paul Henbury. But if I take Paul Henbury out of the category right here in the front, I don't have to talk about him here. I could talk about him maybe somewhere else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this somewhere else for now. Close your eyes. All right. Back to the top. Close your eyes. All right. The term biblical codism should replace the term dispensationalism. So 1 and 2, we can eliminate footnote 1, which will actually become it. The other one becomes 1. Yeah. All right. Dispensation. The term biblical should replace the term dispensationalism because dispensation should be open examining. So I'm going to put a because here. The term biblical codism should replace the term dispensationalism. All right. Well, why am I saying this? Well, the reason I have here dispensation should be open to examining claims of better biblical and systematic theology, but also consider the sine qua nons to evaluate whether a view is dispensational, even under another name. Some dispensations satisfy the term, but this dispensation is not satisfied with biblical covenantalism either. Well, I took biblical covenantalism out of there, so I can remove this for now, and I'll put it at the bottom. Close your eyes. Boom. This is sort of like my boneyard. Just close your eyes. Okay. The term biblical codism should replace the term dispensationalism. 4 reasons exist for why a new term is needed. The term lacks explanatory powers already. Okay, so we're going through here. All right, so we need to say the term biblical codism should replace the term dispensationalism. Should replace arguments with this. Paper argues that there are 4 reasons maybe I could just do it like this, that 4 reasons exist for why a new term is needed. Okay, so because I did it this way, I'm going to make it a period. I'm going to say first, One, the term lacks statutory power. Two, all right, so the term lacks explanatory power. Two, it is already in use by non-dispensational positions. Three, there is a need to have a more robust biblical and systematic theology. Okay. And four, the need there is a need. So I don't like that there is, that's pretty generic, but there is a need to apply all of scripture from Genesis to Revelation practically. This includes the possibility of at least 18 codes existing. No finite, sinful human can get its articulation entirely correct. This paper attempts to articulate the distinction in such a way that clarifies things for the next student of scripture. Why a new term is needed. It lacks explanatory power. Okay. Lots of formatting issues, but I'm just going for flow right now. All right. Dissatisfaction exists within the term dispensation inside and outside of the camp. We want to gain a hearing for our position. Intentional, unintentional misrepresentation, poor scholarship, and argumentation dispensationalism exists in and outside academia. This is very similar to this statement here. So that's redundancy. Motives are not seen. The dispensation hopes to bring clarification. Okay, it lacks explanatory power. Response to strawman exists. It lacks explanatory power. Would this even be included under that? That's tricking me here. Let's see. Okay, so let me move this. Put this, close your eyes. Let's put this in the boneyard. Back to the top, close your eyes. All right. Three possible approaches exist to dispensationalism. Do not teach it implicitly or explicitly. Strongmen heaped up against dispensations. One to find a better term. Lay people should not confused about its meaning. This is not gonna work. This is gonna have to be in a different category besides lacking explanatory power. So do not teach it implicitly. Now I can make an argument that why a new term is needed. Okay. So I'm gonna have to clarify some things here. I guess what I could do is rather than be negative about it, is I could turn this positive and say this paper argues for 4 reasons for why a new term is needed. Replace the term this paper 4 reasons for why reasons for in favor of biblical codism, which will change later on. In favor of biblical codism. So we can make this more positive now. One, this paper argues that 4 reasons exist in favor of biblical codism. So do I need to include those actually in the very beginning? You really don't. Technically, if you have a good, strong paper structure, you don't need that. So let's see what 2 says. Okay, so let's take this and put this in the boneyard. Close your eyes. All right, close your eyes again. The term biblical codism should replace the term dispensationalism. This paper argues that 4 reasons exist in favor of biblical codism. It's already in use. So I just got all that right. No, I didn't get all that. I got the footnote. So I gotta pull up from right here. And then I erase the footnote. Let me see. Yeah, I'll erase the footnote. Close your eyes. The term biblical codism should replace the term dispensationalism. This paper argues that 4 reasons exist in favor of biblical codism. This includes the possibility of at least 18 codes existed. No finite sinful human can get this articulation entirely correct. This paper attempts to articulate the distinction in such a way that clarifies things for the next student of scripture. Okay, so let's say basically in a thesis, you got a proposition and then you got a because. The term, the why. So what you're talking about and why. The term biblical should replace, that's my proposition, that's my argument, that's my thesis. This paper argues for 4 reasons exists. Argues in that 4 reasons exist in favor of biblical codism. All right, so that I'm going to ride with that right there. So now, why a new term is needed. So what we're going to do, and we're going to make this positive. It has greater explanatory power. Okay. Biblical codism has greater explanatory power. Gotta get this out of that. Has greater explanatory power because it can account for every aspect of the plan of God revealed in Scripture. It has great explanatory power. Okay, this is about dissatisfaction. I'm going to move this around. Okay. Close your eyes. Hey. All right. Close your eyes. Okay, so it has greater explanatory power. Biblical codism has greater explanatory power because it can account for every aspect of the plan of God revealed in Scripture. There are at least 18 codes that span codes that either occur implicitly or explicitly and may or may not be in the form of covenants. That's pretty rough for right now, but okay, so some dispensationalists have argued for as many as 12 dispensations to account for all of the revelation in Scripture. I have a chart that I'm working on that demonstrates that. Um, However, biblical codism is able to provide a more nuanced uh more nuanced, how do I say, not methodology, perception, provide a more nuanced exposition of Scripture. And I don't even think that's correct. Maybe explanation of Scripture. Explanation of Scripture. Okay. Can provide a more nuanced explanation of Scripture. They're already in use by non-dispensationalists. So now my paper takes on a different thing because instead of arguing against biblical codism, I mean covenantalism, I could put it right here. I could say no, this term is even more nuanced than nuance than Henbury's biblical covenantalism. Okay. I need to get a glow in dark. This term is even more nuanced than Henbury's biblical covenantalism. All right, so let me just move to there. They're already in use by non-dispensationalists. This term it has greater explanatory power. It is a new term. It is a new term. Let's just go with it is a new term. Um, biblical codism is a new term. Biblical codism is a new term being proposed here for the first time. Biblical codism is a new term being proposed here for the first time. It seeks it accounts for more than let's see, proposed for the first time. The term dispensationalism has been used by those who should not be considered dispensationalists. The term dispensationalism has been used by those who should let's see, biblical code is a new term being proposed here for the first time. Being proposed here for the first time. The term dispensational has been used by those who should not be considered dispensationalists. Okay, so let's put it this way. There's a need to exclude non-dispensationalists from I don't know if that's the right word. Let's see. Okay, all right. Biblical is a new term being proposed here for the first time. Okay, so unlike this is a good time right here. Unlike Henberry's biblical covenantalism, Bibli. Unlike Henberry's biblical covenantalism, unlike Henberry's biblical covenantalism, the proposed biblical codism is not being is not unlike the proposed biblical codism is a new term to theology. Biblical covenantalism. So it's a new term. So let me see here. How can I say this? It's a new term and superior. Maybe I do this. It is superior. Let me just change my argument. It is superior to the term biblical covenantalism. All right. Biblical codism is superior because it has never been used in theology and does not carry well been used in theology and does not carry the theological baggage of biblical covenantalism. Yeah, that will work. All right, so let's go down here. Dispensations of biblical covenant should be rejected because non-dispensations already use these terms. All right, so now what we do, theological baggage and confusion of biblical covenantalism, of the term biblical covenantalism. Okay, so non-dispensationalists already use that term, but along with 5 other people. Okay, so I gotta clear that up. Does not biblical code is superior because it has never been used in theology and does not carry the. All right, so and let's just do this because yeah, it's new, but that's not my point anymore because it does not carry the theological baggage and confusion. Does not carry. Let's just say does not carry theological baggage. Let's just assume that it's a neutral term. And so let's back this up. Non-dispensationalists already use biblical covenantalism. Whoa. Covenant. Non-dispensationalists already use biblical covenantalism. Okay. At least 5 others use this term. Not already use biblical, along with 5 other people who use this term. All right, so let me just do this. Not okay. Non-dispensationalists always already use biblical covenantalism. Okay, so there's the examples. These occurrences indicate that the definition of biblical covenant is in the eye of the beholder. And do I even need that? Okay, I don't need that because that's not what we're. So this term, biblical code is superior because it does not carry theological baggage. Non-dispensationalists already use biblical covenantalism. This term is confusing because covenantal premillennialism is called so because it holds a covenant theology rather than dispensationalism. The biblical covenantalist identifies as a reluctant dispensationalist. Okay, so this needs to be reworded here. This term is confusing because the word covenantalism the word covenant, covenantal, yeah. The word covenantalism the word covenantal is already associated with covenant theology. The term is confusing because the word covenantal is already associated with covenant theology. However, Henbury is a dispensationalist by another name. So I might say, albeit by another name. Let's see, associated with covenant theology. So maybe I'll do it this way. For example, covenantal premillennialism is called so because it holds a covenant theology rather than dispensationalism. Let's just do that. Let's see how that goes. For example, covenantal premillennialism is called so because it holds to covenant theology rather than dispensationalism. However, Henbury's biblical covenantalism No, we could say, however, Henbury is a dispensationalist, albeit, I guess you need a comma there. Dispensation. Whoa. All right. Satina. What happened there? All right. So it's a reluctant. I'm just gonna say dispensationalist, albeit by another name. Okay. One can adopt a take back the rainbow approach to the term, but if one fights for hat, one should fight using the term dispensation after all. Therefore, it's best not to confuse the theologies. I might go with that right there. Biblical codism is superior because it does not carry theological baggage. Non-dispensationalists already use covenantalism, so this would be in contrast. Non-dispensationalists already use biblical covenantalism. This term is confusing because because covenantal is already associated with covenant theology. For example, covenantal premillennialism is called so because it holds the covenant theology rather than dispensationalism. However, Henbury is a dispensationalist, albeit by another name. One could adopt the take the rainbow approach to the term, but if one fights for that, perhaps one should defend using the term dispensationalism after all. Therefore, it's best not to confuse the theologies. All right, so this is a statement about dispensationalism and progressive dispensation. Let's see. Well, number one, it's superior to the term biblical covenantalism. Well, I'm not using the word dispensationalism here. So this dispensationalist does not consider progressive dispensationalism to be dispensationalism. Instead, they're referred to as revisionists and ultra. So this is talking about ultra dispensationalism here. Ruckmanism, ultra. So don't know where I'm gonna put this. So I'm gonna move this to a boneyard. Cause that was close your eyes. That was about dispensationalism. Close your eyes. The term is confusing because covenants are, for example, covenant to permanent is called so because it holds a covenant theology rather than dispensationalism. Okay, biblical covenantalism should be rejected. We already said that. The name reflects the biblical covenant should not be subsumed under the dispensation because covenants are more predominant. However, there are portions of scripture where no explicit is operation. This approach would assume that dispensations exist where covenants do not or must recognize implicit codes are play. It's a better term. This sounds actually like it will fit better underneath the first one. So let's see if we can. Let's see how this flows. All right. Biblical codism has greater explanatory power because it can account for every aspect of the plan of God revealed in Scripture. There are at least 18 codes that either occur implicitly or explicitly and may or may not be in the form of covenants. Some dispensationalists argued for as many as 12 dispensations to account for all of the revelation in Scripture. However, biblical codism can provide a more nuanced explanation of Scripture. This term is even more nuanced in Henbury's biblical covenantalism. The name reflects the biblical covenants should not be subsumed under the dispensations because the covenants are more predominant than dispensations in the Bible. However, there are portions of Scripture where no explicit biblical covenant is mentioned or in operation. This approach would have to assume that dispensations exist where covenants do not, or it must recognize that implicit codes are in play. Therefore, biblical codism is a better term than biblical covenantalism. That is pretty good right there. All of the it's revelation, all of the revelation. I guess it is Revelations. No, I'm talking about the book of Revelation. Nuance explanation, codism. Okay, let's move forward. That's not too bad actually. So we got an introduction. We got why a term is needed. Why biblical codism? Let's change it to that. Why biblical codism? Or let's change it to more like this. The case for biblical codism. The case for biblical codism. All right. It has greater explanatory power. That's the first point. Okay. Second point, it is superior to the term biblical covenantalism. Okay. Third point is it provides the basis. I guess explanatory power and robustness are actually together. You know, as I'm thinking about it, greater explanatory power. Yeah, it is related to that. So I think I can probably bring those two ideas together. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Let's see if we move this around, how that affects the flow of things. Okay. So we got all the statements about biblical codism. I'm going to go ahead and make a paragraph division right there for now. So there's that. Better the biblical covenant. To develop a more robust systematic theology and teach our Bible dispensations take a two paths to doing theology. We don't have to say all that. We can just say there are two possible paths to take when doing theology. The first is an event-driven approach, which should increase the number of dispensations one sees in the Bible. It may come from a desire to eliminate transitional periods between the dispensations. Second path is seeing Bible. There, the thrust of the Bible biblical code claims it can have the best of both paths. Okay, so this looks like I can actually insert this into something that was said up here. Um, illicit codes are in play. Maybe it's right where it needs to be. Implicit codes are play. Verbal codes is a better term than biblical. There are possible paths, okay. These dispensational arrangements are not robust enough to develop a biblical systematic theology. Ham interacts across continuum, continuity, and discontinuity. These views compromise covenant theology in some areas. Hembury does include covenant theology in his influence. He also included new covenant theology influence. Places gentry well under the category, even though they teach progressive, which is not dispensational. So it has greater explanatory power. Which so basically what I'm arguing here is biblical codism can stand distinct from these other non-dispensational approaches. Okay. In contrast to biblical covenantalism, biblical codism can stand distinct from these other non-dispensational approaches. All right. I'm gonna ride with that. It's not perfect structure, but it relates to explanatory power. The shift two possible paths in doing theology. Um, okay. This right here is just a note that is really not needed because I've already said things like this, so I can erase this, which means I can erase footnote 3. Uh, Man, I'm tired. Or the statement about the covenant theology and same content, um, it's not important. So let me just take that out. Okay. So superior to the term biblical covenantalism, Number 8. Where's that 8? Man, I gotta get energized and wake up. I'm getting sluggish and having trouble. I'm gonna pause this for now. Okay, it's 8:46 p.m. Oh, my coffee is getting weaker. I'm getting tired, but um, so I'm gonna make some alterations to simplify my paper. The term biblical codism should replace the term dispensational. This paper argues that 4 reasons exist in favor of codism. This excludes. All right, so the term biblical should replace the term dispensational. This argues that biblical codism has greater explanatory power. Argues that it has great explanatory power. This paper has great explanatory power. All right. So I don't have to go by 4 arguments here. The case for biblical codism. So I don't have to, I could just say, boom, I get right into it, right? Um, biblical code has a greater explanatory power because it's account for every aspect of the plan of God revealed in Scripture. The term is even more nuanced in Hembury's biblical covenantalism. There are 2 possible paths to take when doing theology. First path is an event-driven approach. The number, let's see, humble desire. So now that I made this, I think I could put the practical stuff back in here. Um, the case for biblical codism. Biblical codism is to be preferred over the term dispensationalism because people have become dissatisfied with dispensationalism due to the heaping up of straw men against it. Okay. Dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with straw men against it. Um, huh. Okay, so maybe what I do is to say biblical codism has great explanatory power because people have become dissatisfied with the term dispensationalism due to the heaping up of strawmen against it. Okay. Due to the heaping up. Because people have become dissatisfied with the term dispensationalism due to the heaping up of strawmen against it. There have been 3 responses to the strawman that show why biblical codism is to be preferred. Let's see if I could do this. All right, close your eyes. So we got to get the stuff about hmm. Close your eyes. All right, so now let's look at the flow of things. So we're talking about argues that biblical code has great explanatory power. This includes the possibility of at least 18 codes existing. All right, biblical code has great explanatory power because people have become dissatisfied. So I'm going to just say one reason biblical codism has great explanatory power is because people have become dissatisfied with the term dispensationalism due to the heaping up of straw men against it. There have been 3 responses to the straw men that show why biblical codism is to be preferred. Okay. There are three responses to the straw man that show why biblical codism is to be preferred. Okay. Let's take this one out and let's just add in this and see how this flows. One reason biblical codism has great explanatory power is because people have become dissatisfied with the term dispensationalism due to the heaping up of strawmen against it. 3 possible approaches exist to dispensationalism. Do not teach it implicitly or explicitly. Each approach is defined by how it deals with the strawmen heaped up against it. Okay? This is one reason within dispensation the lay people should not be confused about the meaning. Let's see. Okay, so I think I can move this around. Okay. Close your eyes. I'll put it in the boneyard. All right. So really, I don't need this. All right. That's a footnote, but it's all right. So there's the stuff about the dissatisfaction. Um, I'm not sure I need any of that. Close your eyes. Okay. Three possible approaches exist to dispensationalism. Do not teach it implicitly or explicitly. They do not teach it either because they think it's unimportant secular doctrine because they do not want to confront the constant events. Strawman, rise and fall of dispensation argued decline in the academic right when it became popular through the Left Behind novels. Okay. The it's supposed to be not they, it's the do not teach it. Do not teach it. The do not teach it approach. I guess it would be all the same. Do not teach it approach occurs when they think it's unimportant secondary doctrine. Okay. They teach it implicitly, not simplicitly. Or argues implicit participation doctrine without mentioning term dispensationalism. Student preaching and inductive Bible study is best. It seems enough to account because they know the real. Everyone claims hermeneutics. Veronica Hummel's book may cause these coverts to become more overt in their teaching. The teach it explicitly approach argues that people must be equipped to recognize and engage the doctrines maturely. The strawmen are seen and rejected. This is the best approach. All right, so what do I do with this part about the dispensationalists and ultra dispensationalists? Um, okay. Still not seeing where I'm gonna put this. So I'm gonna take it back and throw it back in the boneyard. Close your eyes. Okay, so let's go with structure here. One reason. So one reason was great so far is because people have become dissatisfied with the term, opened up a straw man against it. All right, so that's one reason. And so that's all supporting that. The second reason biblical codism has greater explanatory power because it can account for every aspect of God's plan revealed in Scripture. Okay. The third reason is it is the term is this term is even more nuanced in Henbury's biblical covenantalism. Okay. The fourth reason is it takes a best of both worlds approach to doing theology. Okay. There are two possible paths to take when doing theology. First path is an event-driven approach, which tends to increase the number of dispensations receive the Bible and may come from a desire to eliminate transitional periods between dispensations. The second path is a text revelation approach, which tends to decrease the number of dispensations one sees in the Bible. L.A. Johnson's scheme seems to describe the narrative thrust of the Bible. Biblical codism claims it can have the best of both paths. All right. Uh, did I talk about the theological baggage earlier? Um, okay. Yeah. Got you. So I would say the fifth reason biblical codism has great planetary power is because all right. So because it does not carry theological baggage. Contrast not to already used biblical covenants. Term is confusing social covenant theology. For example, covenant prenup is called so because it holds covenant theology rather than dispensationalism. However, Hamburg is this we could adopt the therefore it's not best to confuse the theologies. All right, so let's do this. Biblical codism. All right, so let's see if I got this. Does it carry the theological baggage? The sixth reason. My back's hurting. Sixth reason is biblical codism has great explanatory power is because it agrees with biblical covenantalism. I'm going to say it this way because it is robust enough to develop a biblical and systematic theology from it. Okay. That's another good reason, but I'm going to make this another one. The seventh reason is, well, no, actually, that other theological baggage stuff really ties to what we were saying earlier. So let me go. Uh, so let's see here. Terms is always circular, for example. However, Henry's albeit by another name. I'm not sure that works, but five. What's five? Okay, so the flow is a lot better. So we don't need the practical reason. We don't need that. Okay. So let's say the seventh reason is seven reason biblical codism has great explanatory power is because of the distinctions it makes it's because of its soteriological distinctions. Okay. The claim that this is a not sociological position that need to be fleshed out. All right, so dispensations are, so I can just, I'm making the claim here. Social, because it's sociological distinctions. All right, so uh it's funny because of its sociological reason people has crazy forever is because of its sociological over sociological approach. The claim that I'm so tired right now. Whew. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a nap and wake up at 4 a.m. and continue writing. All right, guys, y'all see what I kind of done. Might be boring to y'all, but you see what's going on. God bless, guys.